Hey everyone. Alright, so someone posted this on our Discord server and I actually wanted to show it to everyone. Let me show a small clip of it right here.
In 2023, we had 16 tours. 2024, it came down to 14 tours. In 2025, we had 3. And this year I have 0.
Wow, that's quite the drop. But I thought some of your fellow citizens said that you don't need international tourists.
Also, of course, like we could survive without a ton of international tourism. I think the tourism industry in America, and I don't know this as a fact, but I think our tourism industry is more based on domestic tourism. Like during COVID,
for sure. Yep, I can always rely on those two to prove a point. But this guy here, his tour group that he caters to, his clientele is not Canadians. They're actually international. And he talks about the students from Hong Kong that he brings over. But he's not the only one begging people to come back. The US tourism officials and government officials, they want the Australians back as well. And they're basically telling the Australian media that everything is kind of overblown and none of the policies are in place yet, and it's safe to come to the United States. Well, the Australians, they're not having any of it. So I'm going to talk about both topics in this video. But before I start, one of our viewers in the GTL community named Belgian and Curious has been helping to plot all of the backdrops that I've been using from the community. And I believe now he's all the way back to like maybe October or November of last year. But focusing on Canada, it looks like our country is being filled up a little bit more. Even the photos I have in Nunavut are starting to show up now. I want to thank Belgian and Curious for his efforts on putting this all into a map for us. And if you want to see the map yourself, the link will be in the description below. And one last thing before I start. In case you missed my last video, TryArt Manufacturing has given the GTL community an exclusive promo code. And if you're a painter, whether professional or as a hobby, and you need paint supplies, then I highly recommend to check out their website. The promo code is GTL25, which will get you 25% off. Let's show Evan and TryArt Manufacturing that we want to support a Canadian company. And just for the record, I do not get any sort of commission or affiliate fee for this. What I get out of this is knowing that we helped a Canadian company. Alright, let's get to the first clip where the tour guide talks about the decline in his business.
We've never had an administration so anti-tourism as we've had now. Most of my bread and butter comes from outside the United States. In 2021, 2022, and 2023, as we were recovering from the pandemic, I partnered with a company out of Hong Kong that recently moved to New York, and they bring in what I call the gap kids, usually ages 16 to 30, where they're in their gap year of high school or college. And they spend 3 months in the United States. They pay, and they spend 2 months in summer camps. And then they spend 3 weeks traveling across the United States.
Now, one thing I should mention, these quote-unquote kids that are coming from Hong Kong, most likely, their family's going to have money. I mean, to send your kids to the United States for 3 months, it's not going to be cheap. But along the way, like during those 3 months, they're going to be spending money all over the place. Food, restaurants, alcohol, gifts, pretty much whatever they need. Now, for one person that they're bringing over, my guess is that they're going to be spending anywhere from like, what, 5 to 20,000 depending on their spending habits, and that would be for one person. Now times that by how many people are on the tour. We're talking about millions of dollars being spent for their duration of being in the United States.
They hit 3 major cities on the East Coast. They go to New York, Boston, Philadelphia, and Washington. 4. And then I get them for a week here. We take them to the Grand Canyon. I take them to go shoot guns because that's something they don't do. So we take them to Target that, and we give them hiking tours, and they see the Grand Canyon, and they all start crying, and they love it because it's a giant hole in the ground. And then we bring them back to Vegas, and then they get on a bus, and they go to California for a week, and they go up and down the coast. They go from LA all the way to San Francisco and hit all the national parks.
Now think about all the cities that he just listed out, from the East Coast as well as the West Coast. Think about all the restaurants that these kids are going to. All of the attractions and the events, lodging. It's a lot of money that's going to be adding up. Or used to add up.
In 2023, we had 16 tours. 2024, it came down to 14 tours. In 2025, we had 3. And this year I have 0. So they're afraid of coming here. The national parks now are charging all foreign visitors $100 to get in.
That's part of the bad policies.
These kids are, and I call them kids because they're younger than me, but they come on a very strict budget. So when they come to Vegas and they come to me and I tour them, I make sure I take them to the arts district. I take them, if you want a drink, we'll go to the bars down here. You want souvenirs, we'll take them to the world's largest gift shop because they can save money, right? So ultimately, that is all dried up.
Now, we know why it dried up. They probably know why it's dried up, but will they say why it dried up? I'm going to ask the question that everybody's probably thinking right now. Who did this guy vote for? And it's not just me asking that. I mean, there's people from the subreddit where this post came from. They're asking the same thing too. Let me read it out. Wonder who he voted for. If you voted red, does it make it okay? No, but I would be a lot less sympathetic. The next person says, they don't like to say because they will lose sympathy. And the next reply after that, that is correct. The people who didn't vote for this will tell you immediately that they didn't vote for this. I bring this up because I'm tired of seeing the trolls in the comments saying that this is irrelevant. It's totally relevant. The trolls will just say that we're all shaming these people. Well, I see it a different way. I see it as holding them accountable and responsible for what they voted for in 2024. Mainstream media won't hold them accountable, so someone's got to do it.
Canadians, last year, they were sending me messages saying, hey, we're not coming to the United States, and I understood. Like I said, I was born and raised in this town. I worked for the LVCVA for 6 years. I worked under Rossi, Ron Cotter, may he rest in peace. Your father helped create what happens in Vegas, stays in Vegas. Understanding the tourism business from that sector and then being able to leverage that information to run my tour business has been wonderful. But the reality is, historically, we've never had an administration so anti-tourism as we've had now. And that's not just affecting my tour company, but a lot of my colleagues, a lot of fellow tour guides and tour operators have just called it quits. They're going and finding other jobs. Tourists are not coming here. International visitors have completely disappeared. And it's just devastating. And it's hurting my hometown, and that's what frustrates me the most.
Well, sorry to tell you this, Mr. Tour Guide Operator, but it's not just your hometown that's hurting. The rest of the world is as well. And we didn't get a vote. Now, in regards to this guy's vote, I kind of have a sense, I mean, I could be wrong on this, but I have a feeling that he didn't vote for this current administration, because if he did, then he wouldn't be, pointing the finger at them. But the blame needs to be put on the right people. Yes, it's the administration, but it's also the people who voted for him. The one thing I do know, all the customers that he used to have right now, the customers are still going on tours. They're just not picking the United States. They might be going to Europe. They might be going to Canada. Maybe other places in Southeast Asia, or even Australia and New Zealand. People are not going to stop traveling just because of the United States. They're just going to go somewhere else. Now, another group that is confirmed not going to the United States and avoiding as much as possible is the Australians. And the United States Travel Association president is trying to downplay everything, saying that all of the policies that we're hearing about, they're not in place yet. Well, I have to ask a question. I mean, if there's all of these rumors and stuff that are coming out from the US government, like say, for example, the $250 fee, or the social media requirement on the ESTA applications, or for the Canadians, that stupid form you had to fill out if you're going to be in the US for more than 30 days. If all of these claims were coming from a troll, I would say whatever. But these are coming from the US administration, and from Taco Tuesday himself. So on one hand, you have the great supreme overlord telling us that all of these new fees and policies are going to be in place, and then you have the US Travel Association person saying that, oh no, these are not in place. Who do you believe? For me, I would rather just avoid it than be caught between two people's opinions. Now, I'm just going to go over a few parts of this article from, where is it from? news.com.au. But if you want to read the whole thing yourself, the link will be in the description below. As always, I'll read it out for those that are just listening or for those who are visually impaired. For months, a steady stream of cautionary tales about tourists being detained, questions, having phones searched, or being turned away from the US borders has fueled anxiety among Australians considering a trip to America. It has become more pronounced since US President Taco Tuesday announced plans in December to overhaul entry to the US, which would include forcing tourists to hand over 5 years of social media history to border officials for enhanced vetting. The proposal is part of tightening the electronic system for travel authorization, ESTA system, targeting travelers from 42 visa-exempt countries, including Australia and New Zealand. Social media is now awash with warnings about entering the country, many travelers bracing for intensified scrutiny at the American border, and some question whether it's worth the risk at all. But the head of America's peak tourism body insists that it's far less dramatic than the perception. Of course he does. I don't know why, just hearing that makes me think about this meme right here. But this whole issue right now, it's all about trust. And it directly relates to the video that Wayne Smith helped me out with yesterday, or the day before. If you haven't seen it yet, head to my channel and take a look at it, because it's directly related to this article that I'm reading out. Speaking to news.com.au in an exclusive interview, the US Travel Association president and chief executive Geoff Freeman said Australians planning a trip to the US, including those visiting the FIFA World Cup, should be aware that the overwhelming majority of visitors enter the country without any issues. He says, "We understand why these stories are concerning, and we do not dismiss any traveler's experience, Mr. Freeman said, but the data shows that these incidents remain exceptionally rare. According to the US government figures cited by Mr. Freeman, 68 million international visitors traveled to the US last year, and 99.9% of international travelers were admitted. Now, I kind of question these numbers, and I'm sure everyone else is as well. But over the last 15 months, we've heard some really high-profile cases where people were detained. They had their DNA taken. They were held for like over 6 hours and denied entry. These were the cases that actually went to the media, and the word got out. We have to wonder how many tourists around the world tried to get into the United States and got denied. I'm talking about the cases that we don't know about, or even the cases where people are in detention right now and they don't have a voice. But numbers aside, the fact that we know this is happening, it breaks the trust for a lot of us. It's like having someone convicted of murder moving in beside you and saying everything is okay, but you know he's been convicted. You're not going to trust that person, you're always going to be thinking about it. Anyways, that was the best analogy I can come up with on the spot. Electronic device searches affect less than 0.02% of international travelers, which is consistent with prior administrations, he said. So while high-profile cases deserve attention, they do not reflect the experience of the overwhelming majority of travelers. The larger issue is the gap between perception and reality, and that gap matters because perception shapes travel decisions. You're also forgetting the trust part, Mr. Freeman. Now here's where the Australians come in. Why Australians are worried. The reassurances come as concerns among international travelers has grown following the widely reported incidents involving tourists and visa holders being detained at US airports or border crossings. Australian musician Kelly Holliday, real name Adam Hyde, revealed earlier this month that he has spent all day detained at the Canadian border and denied entry back into the US, despite having the proper visa documentation in place. I'm still trying to get clarity on the situation myself. See, this is where the trust part comes in. Hyde did not offer an explanation for his expulsion from the US, but speculation was rife that it may have been linked to his partner's social media commentary. Holliday's influencer girlfriend, Abby Chatfield, later issued a lengthy apology on social media after he was refused re-entry into the US midway through his North America tour. Chatfield courted controversy in July last year for a video insinuating incels should harm the US president. Chatfield did not directly name Talker Tuesday in her video, but hinted he should be harmed while making a gun symbol with her fingers. In a new interview on Triple M's Mick in the Morning, Holliday addressed the rumors that he had been denied entry to the US over national safety concerns. I was meant to go to Old Mace, an Australian bar in New York. I was going to do a surprise set there and have a bunch of fun with a bunch of people, he explained. I'm not at liberty to discuss this matter such fully at this time, but what I will say is that I love the United States. And you're glutton for a punishment. I'm gutted I couldn't do the New York City show, and I hope to be back there soon. Now, I don't know who this Australian rock star is. I mean, does any of my Australian viewers, do you guys know who he is? But regardless of the person and the fact that he actually wants to go back, detainment is not something anybody wants to go through, whether they do want to go to the United States or whether they don't. But the fact that we know it happens, it's breaking our trust right there. And personally, I don't care if 99.9%, whatever that guy claimed, is okay. The fact that people are getting stopped without any explanation is enough for me to stay away. Now, this next Australian here, I mentioned him on my channel before. Let me read it out. Last year, Australian writer claimed that he was denied entry into the US after allegedly being questioned over his views of the Israel-Gaza war and articles he wrote about university protests. Alistair Kitchen said he was traveling to New York to visit friends in 2025 when he was detained for 12 hours at Los Angeles International Airport before being placed on a flight back to Melbourne. Necron from our Discord server is going to razz me on that one. The Department of Homeland Security later said he provided false information about drug use. Now, I have to question that, because we have heard reports of people saying that they were asked about their political views when at the border, or they were asked what they thought about their president, or they were denied entry because their views didn't align with the US government. If you ask me, I think the drug use thing, that's a cop-out. Now, I have to fast forward a little bit because I'm running out of time. Next section is titled, America Wants You Here. For Australians now weighing in whether to visit the US, Mr. Freeman said they had one simple message for them. America wants you here. That is the message we want Australian travelers to hear clearly, he told news.com.au. The overwhelming majority of international visitors enter the US without issue and have positive experience once they arrive. He pointed to the research showing more than 4 in 5 international visitors reported feeling welcome during their visit. Now here's the funny part. At the same time, he said travelers should still be prepared for routine immigration procedures, understand entry requirements, carry proper documentation, and comply with law inspection procedures at the border, he said. Next section is titled Advice for Australians. For Australians heading to the US, Mr. Freeman's advice is straightforward. Plan early, confirm your visa or ESTA requirements, make sure your document is accurate and current, allow extra time at the airport, and understand the electronic devices may be inspected if required by border officials. travelers should also check official US Australian government guidance before departure. He said that despite several alarming cases of Australian tourists being recently turned away at the US border, there was one most important point to remember. Millions of international visitors come to the United States every year without issue, and America wants Australian travelers here for the World Cup, he continued. Now, here's a question from my Australian viewers. Does anything that I just read out to you from Mr. Freeman, does it make you feel any more safer going to the United States? Is it going to make you book that ticket right now to Los Angeles or New York? Or does it make you want to tell this drongo to go fuck off while you kick him in the knackers, and maybe throw him in the wheelie bin while you're at it? Because in my point of view, everything that this guy just told Australians right now completely negates the fact that nobody trusts the United States right now. We don't trust the border, we don't trust the people, and we don't trust the back and forth policies. So if I know my Australian viewers well enough, I think you're going to go tell this knob to go screw off. I'm trying to practice on my Australian slang. To close off this video, I would like to thank Tempest Nova from our Discord server for posting this photo from Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. I have a feeling Nova Scotia and the eastern provinces are going to have a good summer tourism season this year. So thank you again for sharing this with the community. Alright, that's it for this video. If you found any value in anything I said today, or you want to hear more from a Canadian and international point of view, without the US media bias, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below. That way you'll be notified of my future videos. And don't forget to hit the bell icon and select all as well. Now if you want to see more of my videos, check out the ones that are going to show up on your screen shortly. Thanks everyone. I'll catch you in the next one.